But like I work with Psychodynamic team coaching a lot. I've done probably more team coaching than one-to-one coaching. And I think it's improving, getting people to see how they contribute to the dynamics, but also helping them read their environment, which happens also in one-to-one coaching, helping them read the environment, being able to see things which ordinarily they would pass by, right? So I give an example because if people are...
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host Rexhen, and today's guest is Lola Chetti, a master's certified coach, global leadership consultant, and one of the most respected voices in executive and organizational coaching. With over 16 years of international experience, Lola brings a rare blend of deep presence, intellectual rigor, and ethical clarity to every coaching engagement. Through her company, Holding Space Coaching and Consulting, she supports senior leaders, teams, and coaches around the world in navigating complexity with intention, empathy, and purpose. Lola is also the creator of a 136-hour ICF-accredited organizational coach training program and a certified coach, supervisor, and mentor, helping both emerging and seasoned coaches grow with integrity and depth. This year, Lola was one of the co-leaders of the code review for the ICF, and she also designed and co-delivered the ICF ethical training for ICF coaches globally. So it's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Lola.
Thank you, Rexhen. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be here as well.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Lola. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to coaching, first of all, what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business?
Yeah. And I know that would probably surprise people, or maybe not. I don't know if you're aware, but my first career was in the judiciary. And when you work in the judiciary, and I was doing a lot of especially criminal cases, I spent 10 years in the judiciary, 6 years at the bench, and 4 years at the Attorney General's office. I was a litigation lawyer. And what I think impressed me the most was probably because of a lack of maturity. I saw the inequalities in the world, the inequalities especially in my country. And this is where I thought, and there are 2 ways to respond to this. Either you say, in the beginning, you say, well, I can't change anything, and then nothing will change. Or slowly you think, well, I can't change anything, but I can change one small thing at a time, which can make an impact on someone. So what I did is, after the judiciary, I became a volunteer worker in a refugee center for kids from Myanmar. Myanmar was in 2009. I started early 2009, and I stayed part-time for 6 years there. And it's when working with the kids that I started finding, they were like teenagers. They were going to be resettled in different countries. They were still with a refugee status, and I was a volunteer, but I was passionate about trying to think, how can I not force something upon them, but let them see why education is a way out? Because I firmly believe in it. I firmly believe that education is a right, because it is a possibility to bring equality to a certain extent, at least in moving forward with our competence. And I started thinking about coaching. My husband had spoken about it in Paris before, but it didn't kind of land with me at that time, 5 years before. Then I thought, let me explore coaching, and I explored coaching to work with the children. This is how it started. And my first coaching sessions were about working with my kids who now are in their 30s. I'm still in touch with some of them resettled in Indiana, in America. And It was about using a methodology that not only it's not about telling, but getting the person also to see the why and the why of doing something. This is how, and I started a first coaching ACTP diploma. Then I found, because my kids had come from Myanmar, some of them had a lot of trauma, and this is what got me interested in psychodynamic coaching. I went to INSEAD and did a master's in psychodynamics and leadership development.
When working with your clients and going through the coaching journey with them, what about it do you find the most rewarding since you start doing this?
The most rewarding, I mean, I really reflected on this. I think there is an equal for me. I think it's the seeing the person progress, seeing them meeting what they wanted to meet. But I think the golden dust is, I wouldn't call it exceeding their goals. I would calling them discovering things about themselves that wasn't the goal, but that becomes the goal and helps them see themselves in a more capable, a more competent, or a more effective light, that they find that there is a way forward. And I know this is secondary, but I take personal joy in it. I think it's the connection and the engagement with clients. It also, I feel really energized when I work with people as well.
Interesting. And so right now, how would you, like the people that you work with, we did also mention this initially on the intro, that you were working with executives, with leaders. How would you specifically describe your ideal client profile? Is there a certain industry or a certain demographic that you typically find yourself working with? Or are there some common goals that they have, or maybe some other commonalities that you see?
You know, when you work specifically within an industry, you do see certain patterns, right? In the beginning, when I started my career, I really started in the financial industry because I was hired to work with Central Bank in Malaysia, ICF, which was their training, the leadership development arm. So I was working as an adjunct there, and I stayed for 6.5 years. So it was financial industry. I did do quite a bit in the luxury industry as well. Then when I moved to Hong Kong 8 years, I worked I was already working in pharmaceuticals, but I worked more. Then I started working more with insurance. I started working more with, I almost became specialized, I have to say, in the French high luxury business and also loyalty business, right? I wouldn't see, there is no ideal client for me. I think I look forward to every coaching engagement. When I do enjoy it even more is when I see somebody who is looking into how they can better themselves, who are invested in their own development, that beyond fixing something, they're also looking at something transformational, something long-term, whether it's for them or it's for people around them. I always think that when we develop ourselves, whether we like it or not, or we are thinking about it or not, we also impact the world in a positive way.
Right now, how do you describe your work with a client? Or for any of those that are listening, what's the engagement like? Is there a certain program of a certain length? How is the engagement?
I do several things, as you've seen. Now I tend to do more coaching and more training, and also I have this this evidence-based organizational coach training. So it's 3 different things that I do. So if I was speaking about coaching, I would say the purpose. When I coach, I look at it as we look at what the client wishes. Success is the client achieving what they want, right? Of course, boundaries of ethicality as well. But around this success, it's about how do we expand the mindset and the thinking of their clients? How do we stretch this thinking? That would be when it comes to coaching, right? To see deeper, to see larger as well. If we're talking about training, it's meeting the goals of a training. But like I work with psychodynamic team coaching a lot. I've done probably more team coaching than one-to-one coaching. And I think it's improving, getting people to see how they contribute to the dynamics, but also helping them read their environment, which happens also in one-to-one coaching, helping them read the environment, being able to see things which ordinarily they would pass by, right? So I give an example, because if people are saying, what do we, understanding the power, for example, of stakeholders, understanding how even the tone and the way we interact with people directly impact the loyalty, or even how this person will thrive or not thrive when working with us, right? And how much they're willing to give. So that would be really the emotional intelligence part. And if we come to the part of a training, the evidence-based coaching, I mean, this is a work of passion. I deliver it only to 6 to 8 people once or twice a year, and it's through LinkedIn only. I don't market this. And what I look for is people who are coaches, who are first around developing themselves, because when a coach invests in themselves, we are indirectly investing in our clients, because our offering is also deeper and broader.
Absolutely. And so right now, sorry, when it comes to the clients that you're working with, and this is a question that coaches who are listening would be interested in, how do you find your clients, or how do they find you? Is there a certain marketing channel that works very well with you?
Okay, I'm going to probably disappoint everyone. In the beginning, if you see before 2009, you didn't even see me on LinkedIn. So I've grown my business organically by, of course, it's slow in the beginning, and I'll explain to you. And I'm finding the limits of this as well now, because I moved to America almost 3 years ago. And it's about, I always thought it's about competence and visibility, looking for opportunities to show the people what we can do. Of course, we can be excellent, but if there's no visibility, how would people know that they can come to us? I think the way I grew it was organically in the beginning, right? So my clients would bring me other clients. So I invested more in my competence and in the service that I was delivering to the client. And because I worked in organizations, it's also easier when you work in organizations and people know your work. You get other contracts from the organization. Some organizations have stayed working with different clients, probably, 6 years, for example, in Malaysia with Central Bank. In the loyalty business, I stayed 6 years, also working with them. Luxury business, full 7 years, and even across between countries as well, working with them in different regions. So it's really organic clients. But I really think visibility matters, not only for the person working in the organization, where people has to see their competence and their attitude and what they're capable of and their potential. I think for coaches, it's the same. So for me, I haven't been familiar with using marketing as such. So what I do is I use LinkedIn a lot. You would see that I started using LinkedIn probably in 2016 or 17, not before, because I realized then the importance that visibility is limited, especially when I was in Hong Kong, 8 years in Hong Kong working. So the markets are also different. This is also what I've understood. When it's smaller markets, it's easier for the person to be visible, right? And when you work in regional hubs, for example, in Hong Kong and Singapore, if you're working in one organization, it's so easy to go to Europe and do the work. It's so easy to go to the US to do the work, or to England like I did, Paris, so where the other hubs are, because people move, executives move, but people know you in the organization. And we work with people who come from executives from very different countries. I moved to America, very different. People work mainly online. So you do not have this kind of visibility. And that rejoins one of the questions that I read is like, what is the challenge? The challenge, I think, every time is depending on the geography and the country where you are and the kind of market, you have to tailor make the market to this. Because there's marketing, yeah, but there's competence, then there's marketing, and there's also the experience that clients have of us.
Interesting. So it's mostly referrals, and mostly like from the community within the same company that you've gotten clients to work with in the past and right now. So think about the future for your coaching business for the next 1 to 3 years. Do you have any specific goals that you're working towards?
Absolutely. I think I'm 57 now, and I want to work more on my coaching program. I find that it's so important. I enjoy it. And instead of having 6 people in each group, I am thinking of ways of making it more accessible to people. Because when you take only 6 people, the price point is different. And I'm trying to find how to make it as efficacious, how to give as much individualized attention, but still giving the quality to people. So if you look, I won't talk about it because I think the best feedback is always from the horse's mouth. And what I do when people write to me actually in LinkedIn on my website and say, when are you running? And they interview, I always tell them before you sign up, go on my LinkedIn, look at people who have experienced me, look at the feedback, call up these people, find out, and then make up your mind. Because I think as much coaching is about equity, it's about transparency, right?
Yeah.
And I think to literally align ourselves also to the philosophy of our work is also a strength. It also pushes us then to never drop the ball when it comes to our development. That's the way I look at it, at least.
Interesting. And so for the program, and you're thinking of this improvement, this optimization of the program within the next 1 to 3 years, or is it even closer than that?
It depends how I progress. I started writing a book. I'm collaborating with a British author, and I started writing a book which before it would never even cross my mind, because at the end of the day, I think I want people to understand my offer, and through my writing, they can understand my offer, because at the end of the day, it's about having the right people as well.
Yeah.
It's not
Having the
about
right,
locking in people. Coaching
yeah,
is never about
exactly.
this.
Absolutely. It's been the feedback that I've gotten from almost every coach that I've had on the podcast. And it's also about like saying maybe no to the to the client who you don't think it's a good fit for you working with you. Even though that means saying no to more revenue, it also means it would not, it just makes it harder for both you and the individual if there's just not a right fit. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Right now, throughout these years that you've been doing this as a business, what have been some investments that you feel really good about? It's like good investments you've gotten a good return from, and if any, what have been some investments that you don't feel so good about?
I think all the investments have been good. And my investments, I think the greatest investment is Zoom. It's fabulous. No, I'm kidding. The greatest investment has you, of course, one of the good investments is Zoom. Absolutely. But internally, for the quality of my coaching and the way of self-understanding which I have been able, it has been going to the masters at INSEAD, which I really hesitated in the beginning because it was so expensive. It's the masters in psychodynamic coaching. It's called the Master of Change, right? So at the time I joined it, it was still being run by Manfred Ketz de Vries, who's one of the most decorated leader in leadership. And I had 2 other professors who were actually excellent as well, Lehman and Vanderloo. I think it was really mastering not only leadership development, but mastering that knowledge of self, being able to see ourselves, warts and all, and how our experiences shape us has been by far the greatest personal and professional investment. After this, even my way of approaching clients was different, right? And like you said, when you said, we may lose clients, yeah, it will happen. Like when you work in consulting, it happens as well, but it's never a long-term loss. I would say it's a short-term loss for a greater long-term gain as well.
Yeah.
It's the choice that we have. I think this by far, and I've said it, has been my greatest investment. INSEAD doesn't pay me to make their advertisement. I did that. I joined them in 2012 after reading an article on the Financial Times by, I can't, oh dear, my memory, I tell you, Anne Skula. And I really liked the way she wrote about coaching. And at that time, people weren't speaking about the evidence-based approach. It was just framework. And even the first training that I did was mostly around framework. And when I read, she was writing about the best coaching schools, and I saw INSEAD. And what really attracted me wasn't the best coaching school. It was the psychodynamic aspect and learning about people, learning about how we are raised, the country, the context of a country. How does that shape us as a human being? And how does that shape our leadership, even our gender, our race, our culture? And being able to see through this so that we can have a choice. Because if we don't see through this, then it is an automatism.
Yeah. Absolutely. But right now, you also mentioned the challenge, as you were speaking earlier, thinking about your program as well and your goal to optimize your program on a short-term future, like just like right now, what is like a challenge that you're trying to solve for now versus like the bigger challenge?
I wouldn't say it's a challenge. I think it's more like something thrown to me, like a goal that I have to resolve. So right now I'm working on a way to, instead of speaking about a topic, being able to record the speaking, but have the same kind of individualized attention. So give even more time. And instead of people listening to me in a lecture, they listen to it first and then they come and discuss it. So we can go even deeper into the application. But that may not be the solution as well. So I'm considering all kinds of solution. I know there are lots of people who call and say there are, funnels and all that. For me, I work alone or I work in small teams. And what I focus on is impact at the end of the day. And I know that impact is never suddenly on everybody at the same time. It has to be deep. It's almost like when you throw a stone in water. Impact is a ripple, right?
Yeah.
So, and working on my own and also working in small groups means that we have to think very carefully. How does that create the ripples?
Interesting. We also see the same thing because our mission is to impact 1 billion lives, but we use the ripple effect, just like you said, is we're working with coaches in our community. Coaches are working with leaders and their clients. These leaders have teams, their teams have families. So it just like starts to ripple and it just becomes more realistic to get to that number. And I totally understand that it's not something that just happens immediately and in one go. And I really like that you brought up impact, because that is the next question I wanted to ask is, in terms of like other coaches, what advice would you give to other coaches who are thinking of scaling their impact?
I don't know if I'm in a position to give advice, but so I will give advice that I would say give to myself, right? Because I think it's always good to lead by example. I would say invest in your own capabilities. Invest in yourself. Invest in your own confidence. Confidence in what you bring. When you're really, really, you feel, I know what I'm doing, and you're convinced. It's not just saying I have impact. You see the impact and you are invested in that impact. This is the first step. The second step, like I've told you, when I came here and I saw it's a different market, I think it's knowing your market very well, because every market, like we know, working in organization, every organization has its own cultural context and environmental context. So when coaches work in a market, it's about looking, what does my market need from me, right? And understanding. And I have to say, in America, although I have hesitated for almost 3 years before doing marketing, I see that coaches market themselves a lot on Facebook, on ads, and for me, it's a learning thing. I shouldn't say, no, I don't want to do that. At the end of the day, if we want impact, this is also part of a game.
Absolutely. And thank you. Thank you so much for that advice, Lola. And thank you so much for coming to our podcast
My
today.
pleasure.
For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can go into LinkedIn and just look
Yes,
up Lola Chetti.
yes.
They'll be able
It'll be a
they'll be able
great
to find you
pleasure
there.
meeting people. I love meeting colleagues and others.
Yeah, and they could just like go to your LinkedIn, or they can go to
Yes.
holdingspacecoach.com. Is that
https holdingspacecoach.com. Yeah.
Cool. And just for the editor, we'll make sure to put that on the description for everyone, so they get to easily access that as well. But thank you so much, Lola.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Rexhen.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.